1492. It's a date etched in our minds. We think of Columbus, new lands, and maybe a day off school, but this seemingly simple date marks a brutal turning point in history. It's the year the world as we know it began to shift, the year conquest became a global enterprise. Before 1492, vast civilizations thrived, untouched by European influence. Indigenous cultures flourished, each with unique traditions and relationships to the land. Then came the ships, then came the swords, then came the systematic dismantling of entire cultures. We often think of 1492 as a distant past, a history lesson confined to textbooks, but the legacy of that year, the insatiable hunger for power and resources, continues to shape our world today. It's a truth we can't ignore. Noam Chomsky, the brilliant, sometimes grumpy MIT professor, isn't afraid to shake things up. Known for his piercing intellect and unyielding dedication to truth, Chomsky has spent decades challenging the status quo and questioning the narratives that many take for granted. In his book, Year 501, The Conquest continues, he throws down a gauntlet. This isn't just a historical analysis, it's a bold statement that demands our attention. He argues that the conquest, the brutal domination that began in 1492, never actually ended. It just got sneakier. Chomsky isn't mincing words. He meticulously details how the methods of control have evolved, becoming more sophisticated and insidious over time. He's pointing a giant, neon sign at the uncomfortable reality we often choose to ignore. The truths he reveals are not just historical footnotes, they are the very foundation of our modern world. The global power structures we live with today, they are deeply rooted in the past, shaped by centuries of exploitation and domination. They're built on the foundation of colonialism. The remnants of colonial empires are not just relics, they are the bedrock upon which modern economies stand. The wealth of the West? It's a complex tapestry woven from the threads of historical exploitation and contemporary inequities, often built on the backs of exploited nations. The labor and resources of the global South have been, and continue to be, extracted to fuel the prosperity of the global North. Chomsky's book is a call to wake up. It's a clarion call for awareness and action, urging us to confront these uncomfortable truths head-on. It's a challenge to look beyond the polished surface of globalization and see the gears churning underneath, to recognize the hidden mechanisms that perpetuate inequality and injustice. To understand that the conquest continues, not with muskets and cannons, but with debt, trade agreements, and the subtle but powerful forces of economic control. Chomsky's work is a powerful reminder that history is not just something that happened, it's something that is happening right now, all around us. Let's not sugarcoat it. Colonialism was brutal. It was the systematic exploitation of land, resources, and people on a massive scale. From the Americas to Africa to Asia, European powers carved up the globe like a Thanksgiving turkey, leaving behind a trail of devastation. Think about it. The forced displacement of indigenous populations, the enslavement of millions, the destruction of ancient cultures and ways of life, these weren't isolated incidents, these were deliberate policies designed to extract wealth and maintain power. The scars of this violence are still visible today: the economic inequality, the political instability, the ongoing struggles of indigenous communities fighting for their land rights. These are not just historical footnotes, they are the living legacy of colonialism, a constant reminder that the past is never truly past. Okay, so the world isn't carved up by empires anymore. We've traded in conquistadors for CEOs, muskets for money. But here's the thing. The goal remains the same: control. Control of resources, control of markets, control of people. We call it globalization now. Free trade, it sounds pretty good on paper. But scratch the surface and you'll find a system rigged to benefit the powerful. Developed nations dictate the terms, setting the rules of the game in their favor. Developing countries, often burdened by debt, are left with little choice but to play along. This isn't about countries simply trading goods. This is about power imbalances. It's about who gets to write the rules and who's forced to follow them. It's about the invisible chains of debt and dependency that keep former colonies tethered to the systems that once oppressed them. Section 5, the illusion of freedom, debt, and the iron fist of the IMF. The IMF and the World Bank. Those friendly neighborhood institutions here to help developing nations, right? At least that's what they want you to believe. They present themselves as saviors, stepping in to offer financial assistance to countries in dire need. Well, Chomsky would probably say, not so fast. He argues that these institutions, while seemingly benevolent, often act as enforcers for the global economic order, an order that benefits the wealthy at the expense of the poor. They are not just financial institutions, they are instruments of control. Here's how it works. A developing country needs a loan. They are desperate, facing economic collapse, and turn to the IMF or World Bank for help. The IMF or World Bank swoops in, seemingly here to save the day. They offer the much-needed funds, but there's a catch. But these loans come with strings attached, and these strings are not just minor conditions, they are significant and often detrimental. And by strings, we mean strict austerity measures, privatization of public resources, and policies that often benefit foreign corporations more than the people they're supposed to help. These measures can lead to widespread protests and social unrest. It's a vicious cycle. Debt traps nations. Once they are in, it's incredibly hard to get out. The debt keeps piling up and the conditions keep getting harsher. Austerity measures cripple social programs. Schools close, hospitals run out of supplies, and the most vulnerable suffer the most. Privatization allows corporations to swoop in and buy up valuable resources. And who benefits? Certainly not the local population. Well, it's usually not the people struggling to survive on less than $1 a day. They are left to fend for themselves, often in worse conditions than before the loans were taken. The cycle of debt and austerity continues, leaving a trail of broken promises and shattered lives. Section 6. Seeds of Resistance, Fighting Back Against the Empire. Don't despair just yet. Chomsky might highlight the problems, but he also reminds us that people aren't just sitting back and taking it. Across the globe, from the mountains of Chiapas to the streets of Seattle, movements are challenging the systems of power. These are the Davids facing down the Goliaths, indigenous communities reclaiming their ancestral lands, farmers fighting against land grabs by multinational corporations, activists demanding fair trade practices, and an end to corporate impunity. These movements are diverse, they're decentralized. They might not always grab headlines, but they represent a powerful force for change. They are the living proof that the human spirit, the desire for justice and equality, cannot be so easily extinguished. Section 7. David versus Goliath, the power of collective action. So how do we fight back against systems of power that seem so deeply entrenched? Chomsky reminds us, we have something they fear, people power. Collective action is the wrench thrown into the gears of the machine. It's the united voice that can drown out the whispers of the powerful. Think about it. The civil rights movement, the fight for women's suffrage, the dismantling of apartheid in South Africa. None of these victories came easily. They were the result of years of struggle, of ordinary people coming together to demand change. It starts with awareness. With educating ourselves and others about the systems we live in. It's about finding common ground with those fighting similar battles. It's about raising our voices, demanding accountability, and refusing to be silent in the face of injustice. Section 8. Knowledge is power, unmasking the systems of control. Chomsky's work isn't about easy answers, it's about asking hard questions. It's about peeling back the layers of propaganda and spin to expose the mechanisms of power. It's about understanding how these systems operate so we can dismantle them and build something better. We're bombarded with information every day. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, to tune it out. But Chomsky urges us to become critical thinkers, to question everything, to look beyond the headlines and sound bites to understand the deeper forces shaping our world. Read, listen, engage, challenge your own assumptions, talk to people from different backgrounds. The more we understand the systems we live in, the better equipped we are to challenge them. Section 9, year 533 and beyond, writing our own future. We're not just passive bystanders in this grand narrative of conquest and resistance. We have agency, we have a choice. Every decision we make, every action we take, contributes to the larger story of humanity. We can choose to accept the status quo, to believe that the way things are is the way they have to be. But deep down, we know that change is possible. Or, we can choose to fight back. We can stand up for what we believe in, and work towards a better future. Chomsky's book isn't a prediction of inevitable doom. It's a wake-up call, urging us to take responsibility for our world. It's a call to action, a reminder that we have the power to shape our destiny. It's a reminder that the future is not predetermined. It's a canvas waiting for us to paint. It's written every single day by the choices we make, the actions we take, and the dreams we dare to pursue, and the world we choose to create. Together, we can build a future that reflects our highest ideals. Year 533 might seem far off, but the seeds of that future are planted today. But the fight for a more just and equitable world continues. It's a struggle that requires our constant vigilance and effort. It's a fight we can't afford to lose. The stakes are too high and the consequences too dire. It's a fight we must win, for ourselves, for future generations, and for the very essence of what it means to be human, and for the very soul of humanity. Our collective future depends on the choices we make today.